Hey, how are things going? I really just wanted to record this video because I know right now things can feel really volatile. You're probably worrying about all the different things that are going on in the world, right? It's not just at an individual level, it is at a world level. And whilst I don't necessarily tend to focus on that, it does impact business, right? If you really think about your own business and the people that you're serving, some people are going to be really concerned about the things that are happening in certain countries. Now, I'm not going to name all the things because at the end of the day, this goes in cycles and it's more about how do you deal with these things? Like, what does that actually look like? So I wanted to record a video really just to help you think about how you might approach this and to share my own ways of dealing with things like this. So I've got my coffee. If you want to join me in this, you might want to grab a drink and literally just think about a process that you can input and implement that allows you to step back. Now, we can't ignore the things that are happening, and I would never recommend doing that. That's definitely not the answer. But we do need to think about how we approach things because last week I found myself obsessing over certain components in my business. Like, how can I make more money, right? Like, how can I squeeze as much as I can out of all the things? And that is not the approach that you want to be taking. It's not so much about how can I optimize all the things or how can I get in front of the people who have the money to invest. It's not that. It's about actually stepping back and being calm. And what I mean by that is actually using a calm framework. We want to use a different framework. So I'm going to walk you through a couple and then you can pick and choose which one makes the most amount of sense for you. So the first one that I want to walk you through is called the calm framework. Now you've probably heard this before, and calm is just a great word to think about in and of itself. But when you break it down into these four different components, it can be really helpful. So the first part of this framework is the C in calm, which is clarity. Now, what I mean by that is getting clarity around what it is that you're actually working on and what your goals are. Now, if you've been in my work for any length of time, you'll know that I typically am a 90-day planner. But when things are volatile and uncertain and just feel a little murky, I then switched to doing 30-day plans versus 90-day plans and checking in every single week because things are pretty fluid and you need flexibility and being able to tweak and refine a lot faster than when things are a little bit more calmer. So if you are wanting to kind of figure things out for yourself and you want to get clarity, then I recommend bringing your goals down into 30-day chunks instead of trying to do things on a larger scale where you just have no idea what is going to happen. So start with clarity. So this is where you're just going to ask yourself a couple of questions. What are my core foundations looking like right now? Do I need to tweak anything? What is it that I actually need to focus on? Not want, but need to focus on. And then from there, you move on to the next step in the calm framework. So the next letter in calm stands for action, A for action. So once you've got your clarity, now you can really sit down and go, okay, what are the action steps that I'm going to take? And this is where I personally switched to doing weekly plans. So we just talked about taking our 90-day plan and bringing it back to a 30-day plan. And typically, when I'm working on a 90-day plan, I would do 2 week sprints. Now I'm going to do weekly sprints. And what I mean by that is I don't try to plan too far out. I really just focus and zoom in on the immediate action steps I need to take. And the easiest way to do that is to simply ask yourself this question: what's my immediate next step? And to continue to ask yourself that question as you complete each step. It becomes so simple when we break things down in that way. So, what are your action steps? Or what's your immediate next step based on what you just clarified was your clarity from the previous step? That's it. So this brings us to the next step in this framework. So then the next letter in CALM is L for leadership. Now, you might not necessarily think that you're a leader, but I hate to break it to you. If you're running your business, you're a leader. That's it. You're the person, right? There's just you. So, or there might be other people in your business, and then you definitely are a leader. And so, what I mean by that is having leadership means communicating things, being transparent, being open. Now, that is something that I do in my business always, but this is even more so something that you want to think about. So, how can you lead your audience? How can you communicate to them what you're doing, what's happening, what's coming up? Now, this is where, from a human design perspective, you might need to really sit down and go, okay, what's my strategy? How am I designed to really approach things? And if you have a defined throat, like I do, then you might find communicating with your audience in video format, which is exactly what I'm doing with you right now, or audio. Those tend to work really well if you have a defined throat. Now, if you have an open throat, what you might find you're called or led to is to speak on behalf of your audience, to speak about the things that they're concerned about, the things that they're worried about. And that could be in any format. That could be video, audio, or written. You just have to follow what feels easy and fun for you. But the key message in leadership is communicating, not hiding, letting people know what's going on, being open, honest, and frank with your audience, because chances are they're experiencing a lot of the things that you're experiencing yourself. And rather than just kind of swirling around, by stepping up and communicating and letting them know what is happening and that you've got a plan to move forward, allows them to feel that calmness. Like you're literally bringing calm to your audience. So, we've just gone through 3 steps. Now we're going to talk about the last step in the CALM framework. So the final letter in the framework is M for momentum. So now that you've gone through and got clarity, you've decided on your action steps and you know what your leadership role is going to be. Now you've got momentum. So this is about you moving forward, not staying where you are, not staying in the obsessive thoughts, the worry, any of that. You've now got the clarity, you've got the action, you know what you need to communicate to your audience. Now you can move forward. And this is where you can start to really step into those 30-day sprints, those 1 week action steps, all of those things. It all comes together. And this allows you to operate from a space of calm. Now, I've said all of this, and it does require you to be intentional, right? Everything that I've just walked through means that you are actually sitting down and writing these things out, right? This is not just an airy fairy way of approaching things. It's very much about being intentional. And the minute that you step into being intentional, as in stopping all of this swirling, now you're literally narrowing your focus, you will feel calm, right? That's the whole point of this entire framework. So that's option 1 that we've just walked through, right? The CALM framework. And I feel like this is a really good option for the majority of you watching this. But if you still don't feel quite there, and if you really struggle to go through the CALM framework and you don't feel calm, then I want to offer you another option as well. So let's talk about that now. The next thing that I want to offer you is a mindfulness practice, and it's called JST, and it stands for Just Sit There. Now, this is something that a coach that I worked with back in 2020 gave me, and I have used it so much since then. And I was reminded last week that I haven't been doing this. And I do notice that if I don't do this as someone who has an open head center, if you know, you know, I need to do this practice on a regular basis. When I was in the midst of all the chaos that 2020 brought, I was doing this daily and it really, really helped. So let me walk you through what this is. So it is exactly what it says, just sit there. But I want to give you some frameworks to use it so that you don't get your phone and start randomly scrolling on social media. So, the basis of what this is all about is bringing us back into the moment. So, stopping us from all the swirliness that is going on up here, bringing us back to the moment and actually achieving just kind of a calmness. So, this is another different way of approaching it. So, what you're going to do if you want to try this mindfulness practice is you are going to find a quiet space. So, you have to do this on your own. This is definitely not something that you can do in a crowded room or anything like that. You definitely need to be on your own, particularly the first time that you do this. I'm going to give you a slightly varied option in a second, but I want to walk you through the main process. So, you're going to find a quiet room. You are going to sit down in a comfortable position. So, whether that's on a chair, on your bed, whatever. And you're going to set the timer on your phone, watch, whatever, for 30 minutes. And then you're going to put that on the opposite side of the room. So, you do not want any technology devices near you at all, not within reaching or anything like that. It needs to be on the other side of the room. So you're going to set that timer for 30 minutes and then you are going to just sit there. I don't recommend lying down. I definitely recommend sitting up. And if you want, I would also recommend having pen and paper handy. Nothing that you need to do in this moment. So the whole point of this is to just sit there. Now, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to experience a lot of thoughts just going on and on in your head, particularly if you have a defined head center. Now, if you have an open head center, you might find that you get to a fairly calm mindfulness state relatively quickly. It depends. But what you're going to notice is that for that first 5 to 10 minutes, you don't feel calm at all. In fact, you might feel a little bit more anxious. You might feel more worried because everything is coming at you and there's nothing to distract you. But here's the thing, it's okay. If you can sit there and allow the thoughts to just come and not attach to them, you will get through this process pretty easy. 5 to 10 minutes is a long time. So I'll let you know that it's going to be a little bit tricky. So do whatever you can to not attach. And so the easiest way to do that is to just focus on your breathing. So just counting breaths in and out. So in, out, and you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, like literally focusing on your breathing will allow you to bring yourself back to the present. Now, once you get past that initial flurry of thoughts, then you are just going to sit there and you're just going to literally do nothing. Now, depending on how the first 5 to 10 minutes went, you can ask yourself some questions and then just allow things to come to you. And then that's where pen and paper becomes really helpful. But the first time that you're doing this, I do encourage you to not ask questions, to just literally allow things to just bubble up. And if you want to capture them, capture them. And if you don't, you don't. You just sit there. Once that 30 minutes is done, you carry on with your day and see how you feel. Now, if you do this on a consistent basis, particularly if you did this for a week, for 2 weeks, you are going to notice a huge difference in the way that you feel every day, in the way that you approach things. This is definitely my go to when I'm feeling really swirly, and that's the best way to describe what goes on up here. The other version of this is active JST, which is where you're going for a walk. So you're going for a walk in a forest, or you're going for a walk along the beach, or along the river, or just around your neighborhood. But in this instance, you would have your headphones in and you would have some type of music playing, preferably no music with words. So classical, whatever type of music you want to be playing, and that has the exact same process. So 30-minute timer, go for a walk, move around, do all the things. That's actually my preference. You don't actually have to have headphones, particularly if you're walking along the beach, for example. You might find that things bubble up. You don't need to necessarily block things out. So my process is active JST, walking along the beach, and any ideas or things that pop up, I just record them straight into my phone. Now, yes, I have my phone with me, but I'm not looking at it. I'm not scrolling or doing anything like that. So if you know that you will struggle to not look at your phone, then I recommend doing the standard JST versus the active JST. So hopefully this has given you something to just kind of sit with. And I really encourage you to do one of these options so that you can gain some clarity, so that you can achieve some calmness, and so that you can stop the swirly, obsessive worrying that you might be doing right now. Because here's the thing, it doesn't serve you in your business. Now, it doesn't mean that what is going on you ignore. Of course, it doesn't. But it's also about asking yourself this question: can you change anything? Right? Often the times that we are worrying about things are we're worrying about things that we don't actually have zero control over. And that's the easiest way to kind of ask yourself the question: can I do anything about it? If you can, then do something about it. If you can't, then do the best that you can with what you do have, right? And for me, that is continue to serve my audience, continue to provide a different range of offers so that across the board, I'm serving my audience at the points that they are at. So that's why I have offers that are $9 all the way through to things that are $1,500, $2,000, because everyone is at a different point in their journey, and that's okay. So I hope that this was helpful. The video that is coming up on your screen right now is going to walk you through a little bit more around how you can really start to approach your business and plan things out. So if you need some assistance on planning and all of those things, this video on your screen is going to help you do just that. I will see you there.